Now, we're going to kick off with a video of a local midwife, Victoria Rickson, who spoke to me on Saturday about the reasons why she's no longer a midwife. She's talking about problems within the NHS system. We're going to have a very short video clip with Victoria talking about her experiences. And then we're going to be moving through to things on a global political scale. And we're going to be showing our audience today the connections between our simple NHS and events which are happening on a world scale. But let's start off with that little video interview clip. Just give us some examples of your main concerns around clinical safety or safety for pregnant women who were coming in through the system to give birth to children. What did you see? What did you encounter that you thought this is absolutely wrong?
Safety in transparency. So you're not allowed to truly be transparent to the women. So, you couldn't say things like we're so busy or we're short staffed. So women had this perception that they knew we were busy, but we were having to gaslight them, which never then gave them the bigger picture of, well, my birth was really horrendous, so it must have been me because I didn't speak up enough. But actually, the system stops you guys like understanding the puzzle together. So it was that safety. I was running a caseload of 200 at one point in community. 200. I covered a big area of Plymouth, quite a low social background area. It was a lot of safeguarding. There was a lot of referrals to do, and I just had 15-minute slots every single time I saw a patient. So not only that, you're not looking at their actual overall health, their mental health, domestic violence. I've got to do all that in 15 minutes and check to see if she's healthy with growth chart scanning. You just don't get the chance to actually have a conversation with women. Fast forwarding that, when you go into the hospital, by the time I left, they'd withdrawn most of the community services. So there was hardly any antenatal support. The phones would ring. I actually went in on my day off once to help a brand new preceptee midwife who had a brand new caseload and was left all on her own. She was drowning. And I went in and, the managers are just sat there as if they're just not. And I just sat there the whole day and helped her clean up her caseload. You need to be completely organised or you're going to miss something. And once you miss something, we know what happens. So that was community-based. The hospital-based, you've got women coming in and out of triage. It's like a yo-yo system. They changed the way we do our system, and that wasn't working. And half the midwives were working one way and half were working the other. And then you would miss a dangerous blood pressure or a drug, or it was absolute carnage. And these women are going away and actually saying there's something not right, but they can't put their finger on it. And it's because if you look at any story that's ever come out, where is the midwife story in all this? Completely gagged. We're not allowed to say anything. So it's so enormous, this story. We could talk, you and I could talk every week for an hour and I would never repeat the same thing twice.
Now, Victoria is going to be speaking to us again with a pre-recorded video clip in Extra, talking about some of the actual risks and risk scenarios that she's experienced in the NHS. But the key point is that Victoria is just one of many NHS professionals who've described breakdown in the NHS. And what the UK column has said over a great many years is that breakdown is not accidental. It is planned, it's orchestrated. Now let's move on to the global scenario, one world global government, and a clock is ticking, because this is the real agenda that coming in is a one world government system. This is why Keir Starmer and other politicians are desperate to get to Davos, because that's where it's being built. So I thought we'd take a look inside the clock at the parts of the one world government system, and we can make some comment on it. Now, we've spread a few pieces over your screen here. Let's label them up. A very big part of this mechanism, as we're clearly seeing, is Trump, but we've also got China, we've got Russia there on the stage, and in every cog we see the hand of Israel, which we can have a separate discussion on. But of course, we've also got Keir Starmer involved on the world stage. We've got the European Union. We've got the horrible wars going on worldwide as a result of the policies of these people. And let's bring in the Labour Party, really a shell of its former self. It simply does what it's told. The Labour MPs are the puppets that do what they're told. And probably we can add as well a few little nuts left of the Conservatives, because essentially they have been overwritten and made redundant as a result of powers such as the World Economic Forum here on the left of your screen. So that's a little snapshot inside. And we mustn't forget that the press and media on the UK national stage, on the international stage, and in the United States itself are driving this global political agenda from behind the scenes. So just giving our audience a little bit of a snapshot there, have a think through how we're describing. Let's put a few more parts on screen, and we're going to label these because, of course, the World Health Organization, Davos, the UN, the Bilderbergers, the Trilateral Commission, all of these powerful think tank groups are driving the world's political agenda, and they're affecting not only nation states but blocks of nations, whether it's in South America or it's into Asia or it's into India. This is what the real political system is. And if you think that British politicians elected in this country are making national policy inside the UK, you need to think again, because it's these key parts of the cog. But of course, if a clock is going to work, if it was an old-fashioned watch at least, it needed a mainspring, the force. And what is the force of the political system? We must never forget that nothing moves on a national or international scale without the power of the international bankers. And I've represented the power spring of the watch there. But let's come back to the NHS. And I'm going to bring in the NHS as a tiny part of this world political system. And why do I do this? Well, over the weekend, a paper fell onto my desk. Let's have a look at what it was. It was Weekend, and look at that headline: opening up NHS to private firms will be a key price for a trade deal with Trump. And inside on page 8, it emphasized that actually it was going to be not only with Trump, but Big Pharma was absolutely going to be there in the wings. They want the NHS. And for our audience, I'm going to say, remember what the NHS is, because essentially the NHS is us. It is every part of our life. It is intimate medical details. It can be about us ourselves. It can be about our family. It can be about our children. It can be about babies not yet born. All of this information is held uniquely within the National Health Service. So as a nation, we represent a complete laboratory experiment. And now we're seeing that all of our personal data on a national scale, millions and millions of people, is being offered as some sort of commercial deal with Trump and his fellow globalist pharmaceutical companies. This is terrifying. It is outrageous. It needs to be stopped.